At this time, I would welcome anyone with public comment to please step forward to the podium with their name and address. Okay, having no public comment, we'll move on. I need a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Any discussion on the approval of claims? Approval of the December 22nd, December 2022 financial report. Questions around that?
I think everything seemed to look in line, didn't it?
Approval of the. Doug here.
I
Do you have any comments?
Everything looks in line, you know, maybe a couple observations. It's easy when it's halfway through the year, the 50%, sometimes getting those little 41 2/3 or whatever, but this is 50. And the only thing I think, just a couple of things, the electric revenues, both sales and other revenue, they were way past 50%, which I would assume really a good thing, and the expenses were a little below. Then the only other one would be under fiber utility, the other revenue, I don't even know what's in there, but it was like 28%. I'm not sure what we put into.
Yeah, on the electric, stuff for everyone's, why they're looking at that, on the electric side, with revenues being over 50%, we do start the year with the summertime and the, highest rates and the highest usage. So seasonally, it's not unusual to be ahead of 50%. So we're close to what we expected, and that tends to next 6 months slow down.
On the fiber, I'll call tomorrow and get that figured out, but no, nothing unusual.
Okay, thank you. How about the minutes from the last meeting? Any discussion, question, concern? None, I guess we've got the motions. All in favor of approval? Aye. That agenda is approved. How about electric utility items, Mike?
So the specialty meeting that we had for the fuel, did tell them we're on board with that. The biggest problem they're dealing with right now is getting the allergy kits to even test the fuel. Find them. So until they get the fuel figured out and make sure it's good, move forward with that one. So that once we do find out, and they don't want to be a part of it either if the fuel is not any good.
Is it just a matter of supplying?
That's what I understand. They just had trouble getting hold of that many test kits that they test the fuel. I did talk to him late last week, and they're still trying to fuel kits and still trying to move forward. They did appreciate, knowing that we're on board with purchasing the fuel, so they need to be able to move forward.
More than multiple storage locations?
In multiple storage
Okay.
locations. Yep.
So there may be a percentage you get if some of it's good and some's bad.
That's always a possibility. Then they say, yeah, we'll take this or we won't take that. The next big thing was the West Side Sub, where we had our transmission line coming in where that terminator was burned up. We had T come in and help us with that and do the training. Our guys did all the work. They did an outstanding job. Everything looked really good. They were very impressed with how that turned out. So we did not do anything out cold due to the really cold weather. So we'll have to come back when it warms up. But everything at the substation side on the west one anyway turned out really good. You'll be seeing also probably at the next meeting, we'll be bringing a service body for that truck that we talked about with the bucket truck, where we get rid of the one bucket going on to the other 1-ton truck. So the specs were put together. We sent that out to vendors to bid. We should get that back sometime I think it's next week. We'll get those back. And then we do have an opening for an apprentice lineman right now. We're advertising for that. So we get that, start getting applicants in, we'll start doing some interviews and get that position replaced.
Where would you advertise for it at?
So we'll advertise through our website, through Facebook, and we'll also advertise with Northwest Iowa Community College in Sheldon, Metro over in Omaha, and then now DMAC also has apprenticeship program, or not apprenticeship, but they also have a lineman. It's new this year, the first time they've ever done it. So there'll be some students that'll come out there. We'll send it to them as well.
What about the Iowa Association of?
We'll send it to them as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Justin, welcome. Do you have any items for the water utility?
No, we're still just winter maintenance. We have a few tanks we still have to get taken down and cleaned, which will probably start tomorrow with the weather coming the way it is. I'm sure you probably all heard we had the big main break on the highway last Tuesday, which took a lot of time and manpower, and it just nothing went right, but we got it fixed. And
We all decided that might have been your initiation.
That was your initiative.
and long night and day, but it's back to normal. We got the guys got the concrete poured back today. So get the DOT off our back for the possible weather coming. We got well told back into service last week, and it's up and running and everything's working fine there. So other than that, all we have to the water side.
Justin, is that the one where they adjusted the pump on it?
Yes, we dropped it 40 feet.
Okay. And we've not had any further deterioration or anything that we've seen on anything else? No.
Nope.
Communication items.
All right, well, first, Kurt is taking some much needed vacation this week, so I'll kind of fill in. The bulk of the work going on with communications utility, weather and temperature wise, they're still doing the majority of the drop installations, and some temps are in place. The crews were concentrating on OLT upgrades over the past couple of weeks. And the Gigaspires, our next generation equipment, that testing is going well. I think there's still a couple little loose ends, but what has been placed out in service is working well. So we expect progress on those and start the production shortly.
Questions for Chris? Combined electric, water, and communication action items. I take a first and second motion to approve the resolution authorizing Denman Company for product services for IMU.
Second.
Any discussion?
Glad. Change again right now.
I do feel like they've done a nice job of helping to think about our process. Now, whether that will net the same type of result, but at least we have a better sense for how to prepare and what kinds of things we need to provide.
Well, I think we know each other, so there's some.
Yeah, we're in the third year of our agreement. Last year was our third year. Things are going well. They were the low bid, so we see no reason to consider changing.
I didn't remember the list of names we had on our current agreement. Were there new additions to people representing or being involved with our account?
Robert will be the in charge. That list is basically the same.
Okay, That's
of all
what I
the
was just curious if there was.
of the partner staff, and Robert will still be our engagement contact. The audit staff rotates every couple of years, so there'll always be a couple of new names there.
What was the state auditor on there?
The state
I
auditor
recall seeing that on there before. Is that I just been asleep or?
typically
Okay to see,
send
yes.
something to them, and if they've got
Well, they're part of the RFP process, right?
yeah.
Oh.
They responded that they could.
Right.
Exactly. If somebody else is willing to do that, they tend not to. So
Cause I didn't know they provided that kind of a service.
they try not to, but they do if no one else wants it.
Any other discussion? Move to take a vote. Jackie, would you take roll call, please?
Board Member Selgreen, White? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Raska?
Yes.
Motion is approved. I need a first and second motion to approve a resolution approving a shared services agreement with IMU in the city of Indianola.
Second.
Discussion, questions for the team?
The only thing I would say is I think 3 years is rather generous on our part. I get it. But my guess is neither you as the city nor us as IMU would accept that kind of arrangement with any other vendor. So we can bring that back to council and, but it, shut up.
Okay, were there any other questions on how the amounts were derived or where we established? It's been included. We move to vote.
Yep.
Okay, I need a roll call on this one as well. Jackie, please.
Board Member White? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Raska?
Yes.
So great.
Yes.
And then we need a first and second motion to approve a resolution approving a services proposal for Crystal Clear Communication.
Moved.
On.
Well, I read through this and so did you advertise for this anywhere else?
Was not an RFP. This is part of the continuing program that we've had.
No, I understand that, but I mean, there
When you
had,
say continuing program, do we have a period of time that this was established for that we're reviewing, or this is?
No, it's a continuation of the, current arrangement.
raise.
Is it an increase from the last time?
Yeah, it's an increase of $100 a month from our, from last year.
Didn't, or you set this up, you didn't. Else. If there might be somebody here in town, because where is she at? Is she in upstate?
Yeah, she's in Michigan.
Okay, so did you check anywhere here in town if there would be anybody?
Thus far, I've just had some initial conversations with some other people. John Ann seems to be the most well-rounded. My recommendation at this point is to continue with Crystal Clear Communications.
I did talk to Chris just a few moments ago and I asked the same question. And I know there's a company in town here called Gradient 9.
What's it called?
Gradient 9. And I'm sorry, but I can't remember the name of the gentleman who's that company, but it's an organization that I'm familiar with. And I told Chris I would get him that contact information, although my guess is they're probably in the phone book too. But
Yeah, I'll
they're Indianola kids. I think they're, I shouldn't call them kids, because anybody younger than me.
Individual.
But yes, I mean, I think they're Indianola grads and they're I think they got a solid reputation, and so.
So are you suggesting that we hold on this until
Could
we
we
have a
table
chance
it?
to talk to someone else, or?
Would be in favor.
You asking me that?
Yeah, I was just, when you brought that up, were you suggesting that we move?
I suggested to Chris that he look into it. I mean, my understanding is that we do have the ability to exit this if we so choose.
Yeah, it's a locked in agreement with month to month, but I think at any point in time, if we wanted to change, this is more of a service arrangement. But if we didn't need those anymore, I would anticipate we could get out.
Sure.
We confirm that?
I can confirm that and find out, but I don't have that,
Maybe can we just table it and then you check into this?
Are you under pressure to have this signed? 'Cause this looks like it's
Um,
December timeframe.
I don't know that there's inordinate pressure where it's currently expired right now, but last month was too, and we continue, on a month to month.
My concern is, and I've shared this with Chris a number of times, I think the quality and the accuracy that we receive from John Ann is scattered and it's frustrating. It's our face to our public, to our clients. And I feel like it should just be taken a little more seriously. I don't know what time the team spends with her. But the last newsletter, I picked it up right away and the very first line had spelling issues in it. And so to me, those are simple things that were probably things that probably be addressed differently. So if we do move forward with it, I think we do need to talk to her about quality and how we present to the public in a different way, in a better way. I don't know how you guys all feel about it, but this is
I would
this
just
is
like
our
to look at some
brand.
other avenues before we sign on.
Okay, I can do that.
So we'll table this one then until next meeting.
You have to rescind your vote and then make a motion to table it.
Say that again.
Say that.
Rescind your motion.
Rescind your motion and then make a
I
motion to
rescind
table
my
it.
motion.
Second.
And then
The
do
rescinding.
Motion to table it.
Make motion to
Do
take.
that? Okay, we want to table this until next meeting. Although you won't be.
well, but you guys can still talk. We still need a second on the motion.
Second.
And then Jackie, will you take roll call?
Board Member Smith,
Yes,
Fosca,
Yes.
Celebrate,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
thank you. Did we address the topic that you and Ben wanted to talk through before we go to item 9, or do you want to do item 9?
I think now would be a good time.
Have a topic that for discussion to introduce. This is gonna raise that.
Yeah, I'll introduce City Manager Ben Reeves. We have started some discussion. And not to get too detailed about the potential use of our 111 South Buxton by city staff, and Ben, go ahead and get from here.
Great. Thank you very much for taking some time, and I do apologize because we intended to have something on the agenda to be able to talk about this, and we're talking about maybe having some closed session items because some things are not ready for public dissemination. But it's kind of a little bit premature because we're still working through some issues, some land acquisition issues and whatnot. But we have a desire to work in partnership with IMU and to make the Board of Trustees true partners with our city council members on the plans for a new city hall going forward. But in the meantime, we do have some office space constraints that we're trying to work on. When I first arrived, I had a wonderful tour by Chris of all of your facilities, and he gave us a tour of the IMU facility that's currently vacant. And likewise, Kurt gave a tour to our IT director as well. And so we've been trying to explore different opportunities for us to alleviate some office space constraints that we have in the short term while we work on for a new city hall, and to try to do that in partnership. I won't go into the details that I would go into later on, but needless to say, with a new city hall, what we are really trying to do is recognize that out on the highway, we have a lot of green space and parking that is not really utilized by the community very much because of the high traffic issues. And they don't let their kids play and all that type of thing. And at the same time, we have parking needs out by the square. And so we're really trying to look at how we would design a new city hall to move green space and parking closer. And we really want to do that in partnership with IMU. And as we've been looking at some of the plans for the square and how we're doing some of the alleyways and whatnot, we wanted to do things in a timed way so that we're not redoing any kind of work. We're doing it together in partnership. So long story short, we are working on those things, and I really want to bring the IMU board up to speed on all of those as soon as I possibly can. But in the short term, we have some need for our staff, as well as our engineer, as well as future communication staff to utilize some space. And the space that is currently potentially available is something that I've been in negotiations and talking with Chris about. And although we were looking at this as more of an administrative action between the executives and managers on both sides, Chris felt most comfortable bringing this to you for your consideration as well, not necessarily for action, but just to make sure that you were on board and we weren't doing anything that would be out of harmony with the best interests of IMU. Long story short, what we are envisioning doing is separating the utilities. I know at one point, Warren County Economic Development was looking at potentially utilizing this space, and they were doing so separate the capital costs or separate the utilities. And I know that was an advantage to IMU. You, I think historically, at least as relayed to me from Chris, saw that as a capital investment into that facility that makes it more usable for others by having those utilities separated, because the back area is all the electric facility and the front area is the office space. And so we would be willing to make those capital improvements as well. We also talked about potentially putting in a second bathroom. So there's a men's and a women's bathroom in that facility. Right now there's one, oversized one. We talked about kind of laying that out and met with Mike, and he had some different suggestions on how we might reconfigure that bathroom. It's a little bit different. But long story short, we are looking at right here, and that's right near the post office, and it would be the front area. And this is a little bit outdated, but we would be potentially splitting this bathroom right here and making two bathrooms. That is another capital improvement that we would not move forward with. We had permission from IMU.
And can you help us with the orientation? I'm sorry to interrupt.
So this right here.
The
is
front entry.
front door.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the lobby area right here currently. And we would, instead of a bathroom right here, we would really be separating this right here and potentially putting a bathroom, if the plumbing works out and everything, putting a bathroom here and a bathroom in this. Except more. I think historically this has been used as the women's bathroom, and men all went out into the shop area, which you wouldn't want future tenants to go into your shop.
Yeah.
And then the other potential change that we would make is right now these are two very, very large offices upstairs. And we might recommend the removal of this wall and the installation of two walls here and here. So it turns two large into three more average sized office spaces, which could also be a capital improvement to your building. So that's what we are looking to do in a very simple memorandum of understanding as opposed to a formal agreement. We're intending to utilize that space until such time as we do move into a new city hall. And so that's, we kind of put some language together in a simple memorandum of understanding, and this is subject to change. This is real draft at this point. And it's really to get your thoughts and feedback and concerns and make sure that we're addressing any of your needs in this arrangement as well.
So, thanks, Ben and Jason, for all your work there. I certainly want to make every effort to work with the city. I think functionally this will be a good use of space, and because it's something that is currently just sitting there, I think it's worthwhile to consider. As Ben and I had discussed, what the city and the city's improvements would mean for IMU. That separation of the utilities from the current facility, that's the entire building, including the generators and a lot of that equipment, to just the office space. While we don't necessarily want to be landlords long term, or it's not a business venture we're going to enter into, with the utilities separated and other bathrooms, I do think that makes the building more valuable for us in the future. And that future either being if we're going to lease it, while we're going to hold it. Long term, there's several $1 million worth of removal of equipment. So in all likelihood, we're going to be own and operate this facility for a number of years, 5-10 years at least. Before we make efforts to try to remove and remediate the existing generators. And this gives the city an opportunity to use that space while we aren't, and their capital investments, the meter and equipment are moving the utilities to just single this source, as well as their improvements to the bathroom. I think that does create value for IMU in the future, either through leasing or when we are ready to sell it, to make it more sellable in the downtown market area.
It's been a few years since I've been in this facility. And so you come into the entryway. So on the far, my right-hand side, which would be the north side of the building, I believe, is that currently a conference area like that? Is that what you're showing us there?
This right here is your main electric controller, so that would be not accessible to us. So
Okay.
it's in gray.
Okay,
Because it is not ADA accessible for the second floor. You need to have a conference room on the first floor so that anyone upstairs that might need to meet with members of the public would have a place that they could come down and have reasonable accommodation for the ADA purposes. So this could be an office space here. This would pretend like this bathroom is not here. We would be dividing it over here and basically not changing that walk-in area. We're not intending this to be a public facing building, so we don't intend to have receptionist duties or anything like that. It would be for internal staff that would have access to be able to come into the building when the door stays locked. Unless, of course, there was a meeting or something that people would let in the door.
So Ben, you mentioned that the north side of the first floor is
It's not accessible.
excluded, but is that same space on the second floor open?
Yes. And we
You got the three offices.
Every locks in and whatnot, so that you would maintain access to those, but anyone else from the public or the city would not.
well, I think it's a good idea. I'm glad to see the facility get utilized to some extent, and I think the city would be a good thing, yeah.
How about insurance? How do we ensure?
Are on the same insurance right now, and that's actually a really good lead in. The RFP to modify our insurance is currently out to bid as of today. So all of our insurances are pooled in together and whatnot. If there is insurance for this front piece versus the back piece, it's the same insurance company.
I didn't know if, because we're using it for different space, if we would have a different type of insurance or if it.
I don't think it would change the classification at all, because it historically has been office space and it would be space again. Whether you brand new or the city, we are us, and so really that use doesn't change too much. In fact, to some degree, we're a very good tenant in that we're not a outside tenant, because an outside tenant then creates income, which is a taxable, turns it into a taxable facility, and as opposed to a non-taxing entity.
How quickly would you anticipate needing the space or wanting to move into the space?
Just as soon as possible.
Tomorrow.
We're really, we have our IT folks co-located with our fire department right now in that kind of main bay area. I think, up front, and it makes it really hard to have a conducive working situation when there's loud noises and you're trying to be on a Zoom call or something like that, and trying to work with either vendors or internal staff. So earlier would be better than later. We also intend, so it would be Jason and my Lisa that would be moving in there right off the bat, along with AP, moving out of the streets department into this facility as well. But we envision having space for interns or a communications person too. City and IMU, we have that space available for new personnel. Right now, we have no place to.
So then your capital improvements, that would be your rent? Or is there a monthly rental?
I think the intent would be those capital improvements to be in rent. Because those do provide us some good value and some future abilities.
Oh, and then we're also paying utilities and so forth in there also. I mean, I'm assuming that space is heated and.
Yeah, heated ACs.
Say that you would take
Yeah,
responsibility.
the city takes care of
Just
it.
pointing that out, that's.
Yeah.
That's a cost that we're going to.
I know, I just want it clarified that.
What about maintenance and so forth? the unit goes down, anything like that, city taking care of everything,
So,
breaks,
but like what?
breaks, water damage.
I guess it really depends on if it's, so the unique thing about this is that whether it's an IMU facility or a city facility, it's a city facility. So actually, if you go back to the layout of the beacon, it's a city facility. So I see us as us, we are us. And we work together. I envision that any kind of damage or any kind of issues with heating, air conditioning, or piping that is related to the office space out front, we would take care of and maintain that period of time. But I think a lot of these things are connected through, so kind of your piping and electrical and whatnot, other than we're gonna separate utilities, there's some things that are gonna still be maintained by.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, if there's any like major things that are right there in your portion, right? And that's what I'm looking for, like, do you end up with a toilet, let's say, something simple like that, or but like the burst in the bathroom
We're
or.
not looking to make you landlords ignore
Yeah,
it,
okay. So we want to make sure that,
but like if the roof starts leaking and whatnot, that could be a potential shared. It's one roof,
That cleaning services, that building is probably not clean.
we would take care of that.
I'll do that today.
We have,
Dust Pros does. Yeah, it is cleaned periodically. I mean, not a whole
Not
lot.
as regularly as you. You have people in it.
Correct.
so we would take over that.
Okay.
how old is the roof? You actually said something about the roof. That's good. The roof, I assume it's a flat roof, so that's just.
A roof that needs some
It needs what? Placement.
especially over on the generation side.
Great.
So the two of you will continue to work through the details and you'll keep us apprised as well as the council.
Yeah, so I was just envisioning that Chris and I, if there was no objections, we would work through that and it would be handled just at a simple MOU level. Remember, Annie? If you prefer, we can make it a formal agreement level and bring it back.
For myself, it's just more of an awareness. I don't know.
It's no cost to us.
And cost reduction and investment.
Well, and Dom, for instance, I mean, being newer to our board, I don't even know if he even knows what's, I mean, as far as the stuff we got in the back there, we've been kicking that can down the road for.
I got a tour before I started, so yeah.
The only thing that might be impactful to IMU in the short term is there's some records, and we've been working with your staff on that as well. There's some records in there and some older furniture. We probably just, if there's things that could be reused so that it benefits the residents by not having to buy new stuff, great. If there's things that are not worthy of maintaining, awesome. And we'll just work in good partnership on that, ensuring that you don't have a loss of records or. And any kind of improvements over time, we would have in written approval by.
So that's the crux of the agreement. Like I said, I'll work with Ben, and if anybody has any comments or thoughts or feedback and you want to reach out to me individually, please do so, but I'll absent hearing any issues with that, we'll move forward with some version of this arrangement.
Thank you.
Moving on to fiscal year 24 budget discussion. Sent out lots of information the last couple of weeks where we're at on budget terms. Chris, you want to give me highlights or?
Sure, yep. So what's in your packet tonight basically are the fund summaries for each department and for IMU. Fund summary, board of trustees fund summary includes O&M and capital revenues and expenses for all the utilities. So I did share some of the detail over the last couple of weeks. Didn't receive any questions or any feedback, so I'm hoping that everybody took a look at that and understood all of that. We do have some comments. We include some comments, some assumptions, kind of the ones that are most common and among all three of the utilities. As far as on the expense side, one thing we budgeted for on the expenses is our risk insurances. that's not the health insurance, that's the benefit, but for our risk insurances for liability, auto, property, those types of insurances. I did ask Courtney, and as Ben mentioned, we are in the process of going out for an RFP for our broker on going through that process with our risk insurances. But he did indicate to me that they are telling clients to expect anywhere from an 18 to 25% increase in some of those risk insurances. So we did include a 20% increase over last year. If you recall, we did have a pretty good increase on some of those risk insurances last year. So we did include a 20% increase in the budget expenses for those items for all three: electric, water, and even like the admin fund. We did,
How long it will take for us to get the RFP responses? What's the time frame on that?
you want to speak to that? I think they're due back March 13th.
Yeah, there was an email that went out today.
The RFP is online under bids, and we will make sure that everybody's aware of it. We're putting it on all sorts of different posts. The advertisement period is about a 4-week period for the end of February, beginning of March. And your staff did review and did have some great feedback, adding into that RFP to make sure it's just the way it works for both entities. Review and approval the second 2 weeks of, or second half of March, with the selection of a new firm or perpetuation of the existing firm, I think might be.
We have a joint meeting in April to discuss insurance. Will this be part of that discussion, or is that we'll already have it approved by that time?
At this point, we will have it all laid out together. We don't, that date, and I know we had kind of some questions on the timing of all that.
You're welcome.
We're bringing people back from 2021, I guess, but it's all good. We'll coordinate on the dates. April 10th, we might have that already finalized by then, and we may need to move that meeting up.
Okay.
Or if there's no concerns on either side and we've had everyone involved, the city approves it on one day in the next meeting.
I just looked at it more as an
we-
opportunity for us to have the conversation. So.
Yeah. There's the issue that we really have is that the broker is the broker. It's paid by the same by ICAP no matter what. It's whether the broker decides to try to move away from ICAP, and that's where the potential savings would potentially come. So, and we'll be interested to see various brokers, their strategic advantages for us to potentially go with.
Thank you. So the important point is that the increase, at least a middle of the road number. Did you say it was at 20%?
Yes.
Still could come in higher than that at some point.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And that kind of, leads into just a good overall comment. These amounts have been published. And so from this point, or what you see here, we can only go down. We can't increase any of these numbers. So if we do find out tomorrow that we should have budgeted 25%, we're talking about that in an amendment, like the kind of, the maximums are there. And so can't add anything to it at this point.
For health insurance, we did not budget for an increase there. We've had some initial renewal meeting on the health insurance experience and our fund balance. We in the city also were in agreement that we're not expecting an increase in the health insurance premiums for fiscal year 24. So we did not include an increase for that. Some of the other highlights, I think when we talked O&M a while back, Chris was still waiting to hear about wholesale power rates and if there would be any change there. There was not. Those are going to remain flat. So we did not budget for a rate increase on the electric side of things. At that point, we had not finalized the MOU with the city. That has now been finalized, and those numbers that you saw earlier, those have been incorporated into the budget the fund summary numbers that you're seeing tonight. We did not, also did not budget. Let me back up. In the water utility, we did budget for an increase there. We've been talking about that time and the need for that for the capital improvement projects. So we did include an increase in the base rate and then also in the rate above the base rate. And I think we'll be bringing that in April, bringing that
Yeah,
for consideration.
April, with the official change on April, effective May is our anticipated timing. Like Chris said, that'll be $1.25 or this budget is built around $1.25 increase in the base rate and 75 cent increase on the marginal rate. That's very similar to what we did last year. It's approximately $3 to $3.50 a customer a month increase. So not terribly huge, but that does give us about an extra $300,000 that'll lead towards future water main improvements. So, and you know, again, just similar to last year, all that increase is going into our capital improvement fund. It will result in water main improvements overall.
Not only price point similar to last year, timing wise of when we predict the increase will occur with similar.
Yeah, timing is the same as well.
And as far as rates in the communications utility, we did budget for a $5 a month increase for video services. We did include that in the communications budget. One other thing I would mention, there's a note on the communications utility fund summary that we did not budget for any new staff. That is true for all the other departments as well. We did not budget for any increased staff in fiscal year 24. The slides that you're looking at here, you saw these, I think, a couple meetings ago before we had some of these numbers finalized. It's just kind of a summary of just the O&M expenses for the water, the electric, fiber. And this first slide here is our fiscal year 23 re-estimate. And then we flip to the next slide there. There we go. So this is for the new fiscal year 24, kind of broken out, just kind of summarized there. The expenses are summarized, and down below it just kind of shows for each utility kind of what those top 3 expense categories are. So for water, well, really in all the utilities, it's just that they're kind of in a different order. Salaries and benefits, of course, is the big one. That includes employee salaries and benefits. In the water, the second largest expense there is operations, and that we've seen an kind of a large increase in the treatment chemicals that we use, chlorines and that type of thing that we use in the treatment process. Those have really increased over the last year, and I expect that will continue. So we look for that increase.
Yeah, I think just kind of anecdotally, chlorine, we're looking at those prices. Chlorine has doubled since budget time last year. So over the last 12 months, obviously chlorine is an important part in our water treatment process, and those costs have gone $3.50 to $7 per unit. And there's no way around that, but just to pay it, frankly. The cost of treatment has increased.
And of course, in the electric department, the biggest expense there is the cost of our purchased power from Mean. And then in the fiber department, their operations, that is the video contracts, all of those contracts that go out and negotiating and having to pay for the video services. That's kind of the big expense in his department there. And then, of course, in the electric and the fiber department, we do have some outstanding debt that we will have for the foreseeable future. So overall, everybody did a really great job on budgets. We started early and we feel like we're in a good position. I think the water overall from 23 to 24 expenses about a 3% increase, but it's due to some of those items we just talked about. Mike's is just like less than 1% there, and Kurt's is actually decreasing just a little bit. He's done a really, really great job with both his capital and O&M budget, taking a hard look at his expenses and really trying to figure out, where those are going to come in at. One of the things that he is looking at doing is taking the locates for his his fiber infrastructure, taking that in-house. Right now, he's paying Mike so much per month for his employees to do locate while they're out there. Now that things are kind of starting to stabilize with the installs in the fiber department, Kurt's thinking that this is the year that they can take that in-house and do that themselves. So that's helping with his budget, a reduction in his expenses for fiscal year 24. So those are just some kind of highlights and high level things. Again, if anybody's got any questions or wants to go through the detail, happy to sit down with you and go. But as Chris mentioned, these are the numbers that we've given to Jackie that's been published. These are the numbers that you'll be approving on the 27th hearing when you formally adopt the budget.
Is this the one that you sent us?
No, I don't think so.
These slides here I just put together just kind of as a visual for tonight. What I sent you.
No, I know that, but I mean, didn't you send something like that though?
I sent the detail, yeah, that it's even more detailed than what I'm showing here that basically shows our line items in our budget, so.
Would you like these?
Yeah.
Would you mind sending these slides to the board?
Sure, I can do that.
If there's any.
Great job with budgeting this year. I feel like we're a little bit more on top of things than we were last year, so I appreciate your help in making that happen.
So Chris, I think on the 7th is when you sent out the final budget documents. So does this final budget, does that include these increases that you spoke about today? You know, as far as the,
Liability insurance.
so that includes the 20% and that's all in baked into
Yes.
this.
Yes.
That'd be good.
So this will be on our public vote or public hearing for the next meeting.
Yes.
True. Other questions or discussion point? Anything else tonight? Alicia, you're kind of quiet. Or are you got anything tonight? Anything else, Chris?
No, just to echo a lot of what Chris just said. I was going to mention the RFP for the insurance went out, but that's all taken care of. And again, my compliments to staff, Justin stepping in, really happy with how this budget turned out. And, in light of a lot of these 20% increase, 10% doubling of this, I think they've got a great budget, and the members of the community should be glad that these guys are taking a look at operations, because they spend it like it's their money. And they stress over the $1,000 purchases, and I appreciate that. And only because of that do we have a budget as good as this.
Just for educational purposes. So, you mentioned chlorine doubling in price from last budget cycle. I guess I'm just curious, where do we shop for those items to make sure that we're getting the best prices for these things that we do?
There's other vendors out there for chlorine, but it's not just chlorine. The fuel surcharge has killed us for the diesel. APCO's they've been a very reputable company and they're reliable. But we could always go out to see if there's cheaper ones out there, but they're a local, well, Grimes, but local. But the biggest thing is just the fuel surcharges that they get us on.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time, Justin, we did that kind of a thing, but I think it's probably always good to do that. I actually just saw a story today where Walmart was pushing back on price increases from its vendors. As fuel prices and other things are coming down, they're starting to say time out, so things can change around pretty quick, but.
What's the shelf life?
Oh, probably 30-45 days. We go through roughly 1,000 gallons a month, give or take, depending on the season. But every 4 weeks we get a load of chlorine.
Was it something that doing storage, or you're saying this? It'll.
We don't have the storage to hold any more than what we can without adding on to. So.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no other topics, I would take a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
This
Thank you.
adjourned, thank
Thanks, man.
you.